Welcome back. Well, as I mentioned, we have Jerry here on behalf of Pacific Financial Planners, who's going to help us with our retirement. Well, welcome back.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here.
You're welcome. We're glad that you could make it along. And, you know, there's always lots of questions about retirement. And before we get to some of those things that you wanted to talk about related to risks, I understand that you were just at the Health and Wellness Expo for your financial health. Tell me how that went.
It was excellent. There was a lot of people, a lot of interest, a lot of medical. And so I had my little doctor's jacket on, right? And people kept saying, "Are you a doctor?" I go, "Well, I'm a doctor for your financial health."
Oh, good.
And so that drew a lot of interest. And then people recognized me from the program, so thank you very much. It was very effective.
Excellent. And then they also had gone to your forums.
And a lot of people said, "Boy, he's an excellent speaker." And so I was getting basically paid advertisement from these people who were saying, "He's a great speaker." And there's like 7 or 8 other people looking, going, "Oh, okay, that's great," because we were obviously promoting the financial forum.
Right.
So
right.
But it was an excellent program. There's another one in October or something like that. We'll be there again.
Okay, good.
We're the only financial people talking about financial health. Because see, look,
it's true.
Lisa, here's the problem. They go together. Health and wealth go together. I mean, you don't want to be old and broke. You know, you don't want to be, rich and unhealthy.
Good
so
points.
You got to kind of work on both.
Good
They're
points.
equally important.
Well, that's a good point. Well, let's see. So when we're old, we don't want to be broke. So what do we do to help our retirement? I know there's a lot of risks going on right now.
There is. I mean, the thing is, one of the biggest risks is longevity. Everyone desires longevity. Everyone wants to live a long time. I don't meet people that say, "Oh yeah, no, I'm ready to go." You know, that doesn't happen. But the statistics are staggering. Of the people who live to be 100, which is a centenarian, in 2000 there were only 50,000 people. But by 2050, it's going to be over 1 million.
Oh my.
And so you say, well, okay, 2050 is a long ways off. That doesn't include me. Well, you know what? If you're in your 70s, you could be part of that statistic. I mean, it's only like 25, 26 years away from now.
Right.
And so you're 74, 75 years old. The question is will your money last? Are you planning to make your money last to 95? If you retire at 65, and you've worked for, let's say, 40 years, from 25 to 65, now you're going to be unemployed or retired, let's call it, for another 30 years. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do? There's a lot of things that can happen. There's a lot of risks associated with it. That's what we're going to talk about with this next financial forum.
Okay, good.
And again, a little bit today is, people think of, well, market risk. Oh, the stock market can go down and all this and that. And a lot of people are way too dependent on the stock market. Mm-hmm. But this thing called inflation, that everyone's in the news again, that hasn't been really since the 70s and 80s. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a problem. Things are going to cost more. Mm-hmm. And really, for seniors, healthcare inflation is even higher than that. Your Social Security is indexed by the rate of consumer price index, the rate of inflation. But senior inflation has always been higher, mostly due to health care. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't even take into account the long-term care that a lot of people are going to experience.
Right.
And then there's the unexpected things like, death of a loved one. Your income goes down because their Social Security, their pension goes away, mm-hmm. or their knowledge goes away. Mm-hmm. And speaking of that Health and Wellness Expo, I met a gentleman, and again, maybe he's watching. He said, "Well, I'm a certified public accountant. I'm a professional. I understand numbers in business." And I said, "That's terrific. That's just great." I go, "What's your plan if something happens to you? Is your spouse educated on finance? Is she a CPA?" Mm-hmm. And he goes, "No." I go, "Well, what's your exit plan?" I go, let's say you become disabled, debilitated. Mm-hmm. You don't die. You're still around. Right. What's your plan to manage your money since you do it yourself?" Mm-hmm. The gentleman looked at me, got really quiet, and then turned and walked away. He was like, "Oh, I guess I don't have one." And so that's those unexpected things. And so what happens a lot of times, Lisa, is that the surviving spouse does nothing because it was their husband or their wife handled it all. Usually one of the two becomes the financial people. Mm-hmm. It's not always the male. It's definitely a lot of times female.
Yep.
So you got to have a sound income plan. That's really what it comes down to. And it's got to be sustaining until you're 90, 95, or 100 years old, and it's got to take into account things like inflation.
I know people who say, "Oh, well, I'm not going to live that long." But you're right. What happens if you do live that long and you were anticipating, maybe passing away in your 80s, let's just say, then you've got another 20 potential years. What are you going to do with that? So what are, just in a nutshell, what are some of the things other than having a sound income plan? Is that something that you provide for people? You help run through what they should be doing?
Right, Lisa, because you've got to make this mental shift from growing your money in your 401k, 403bs, all those retirement plans, IRAs, to the distribution aspect of it all. How do you take the money out? So, I know I've said this before, it's like when you retire, you've got about your highest net worth you're going to have, because once you start giving up your paycheck and taking money out, you might start drawing that down.
Right.
So you got to draw it down enough, slowly enough, that it lasts your lifetime. So the ideal world isn't to sell growth, these went up because you're selling shares, so you have less and less shares. If it goes down, you're in trouble. Like the market last year went down. So it's kind of like that chicken farm again. It's like when you retire, you've got a chicken farm and you've got all these chickens that lay eggs every day. Now, assuming you like chicken and eggs, okay, you can eat the eggs and live off the interest. You have just as many chickens, maybe even more chickens over time. But if you're killing the chickens, killing the growth, then you have less chickens, less eggs, and you run out of money.
Right.
So it's to create an income strategy, the eggs, that are sustainable for years where your principal does not get adversely affected.
Right. Well, and these are things that you're going to discuss at your forum. The major risks, what people could potentially, come up against. So let's talk a little bit about the financial forum that's going to be happening, and you do lead that, but you have lots of people who come and they all discuss different scenarios that they are dealing with.
But it's a two-part deal. The first part is a topic, which will be, this is again, the rising risk to your retirement, and again, I lead a discussion, but there's group interaction. There's definitely participation, audience.
Right.
We try to make it fun. We have, cookies, we have coffee, those type of things. But then we take a little break, and then we go around the room, and people just talk about whatever they want to talk about.
Okay.
And it's group answers and the whole 9 yards. So you can learn from your other residents here in the forum, and obviously I'm just moderating the whole thing.
That is awesome. And and one thing that you have mentioned before is that people do come with lots of different questions, and the nice thing is they do provide answers, like you said. So you might learn something that someone else may have done that you never thought of.
That's the whole point. I mean, I learned from different experiences and different things that people have to say.
Right.
I mean, it's not like I have a corner of all the good ideas out there. So that's why we called it the forum, so everyone can discuss. You don't have to sign up, you don't have to RSVP, you don't have to give your name, you want to come in anonymously, that's fine. I mean, I know a lot of people have trepidation about, they're going to know who I am. Do whatever you want, but get your questions answered. Knowledge is power. And that's the thing that I put down there. One of the risks is the cost of doing nothing. And I know a lot of people are afraid. They don't know what to do.
Right.
So they do nothing. That's oftentimes a mistake because the world's changing. Like interest rates have come back up now. So you can get CDs again. You can get treasury bills out there. You can go with some of these fixed rate annuities and index annuities that are really, really attractive today that have no risk.
Right.
But people are still sitting in the bank at 0.25 with hundreds of thousands of dollars because they don't know what to do.
Yeah. And I think what I'd like to do maybe next time when you come back is talk a little bit about some of those annuities, because most recently what we have heard in the news is that there's something going on outside of our country that's changing the way and the face of cash. And so maybe we should take a look at that next time.
I'd be glad to.
All right, thank you. If you want more information about all of the services that Jerry and the folks at Pacific Financial Planners have for you, you can go to pfpinvest.com or call them at 949-219-0692. We'll be right back.